My name is Andre, and I will be your moderator today. This session will have 3 talks from Japan, Turkey, and Czech Republic. This session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to the speakers, I would like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For online attendees, your microphones will remain muted for the duration of this session. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please use the chat box in the control panel. For the attendees here in the room, please keep background noise to a minimum, and if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please raise your hand and use a microphone. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. And now I would like to hand over to the team from Japan, Yoshinobu Adachi, Yoshiyuki Miyauchi, Lucas Haywood, and Hidetaka Yachi.
Okay, hello everyone. So good morning. So today, I will be presenting on advancing Japan's BIM object library, so standard step 2 of the national bSDD under IDS initiative. So let's explore the background and the future together. This project aims to enhance both the quality and the productivity of design by digitalizing and refining equipment selection. So here the project members. So let me introduce. So first, I am Yoshiyuki Miyauchi. So please call me Yuki. So I'm working on a startup company. We go by the name One Structure. So okay.
Morgan, I say Yachi. I live BIM and Berlin. For me, BIM is BIER, Building Information Environment Responsibility. Oh, my theme is environment. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yoshinobu Adachi. I'm working for buildingSMART Japan chapter, and also I'm working at general contractor in Japan, Kajima Corporations. And did you join 30 years old German chapter birthday party? It's 30 years. It's very long. And I have been working with this community. It's IAR and buildingSMART, almost likely 30 years. So I was very happy to join the German chapter birthday party this week. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lucas. My background is kind of in chemical engineering and then also in IT. And currently I work with Yuki at OneStruction as the VP of Global Strategy. Thank you.
Very short introduction. So today's agenda, so let's jumping ahead. At the Singapore summit this past March, so we presented the roadmap and activities for developing the Japanese object library. So here at the Berlin summit, so we will focus on more specific use case and present how the library can be useful. So we hope this session will be practically beneficial for those involved in equipment selection. Okay, so first of all, let's review the content from the Singapore summit this past March. So after that, we will introduce specific use case for leveraging the library. So we are currently working on standardizing BIM object libraries using bSDD and IDS. So this initiative aligned with the global openBIM movement while uniquely in Japan. So we will present our library development roadmap, which we also shared at the March Singapore summit. So at the Singapore summit, we introduced the development of library template. So some may have found the conceptual and academic content confusing. So at this Berlin summit, so we will discuss how we are building the necessary concrete libraries and specific use case, and demonstrating their effectiveness. So we will explain the use cases we selected this time. So as one use case, so we will discuss equipment selection. So during the pre-construction phase of building, now let's turn this slide. Let's show use case.
Yes.
Mr. Yachi.
Now, from that, I take it over. Today's presentation will focus on the equipment selection. When selecting the right equipment, it's common practice to first refer to the manufacturing catalog, However, equipment selection becoming increasingly complex with the diverse design requirements, environmental consideration, and regulatory compliance. The burden on the design engineer is growing daily. This slide lists some of our challenges that engineers constantly faced. When asked, everyone asked me, do you always struggling with those issues? My answer is yes, we are constantly trying to find the best solution. Okay. We cannot install the 10 kilowatt unit in the ceiling. We cannot install 10 kilowatt unit on the ceiling. So let's install the 5 kilowatt unit. First, we need to carefully check the installation condition. Installation space, environment condition, etc. The design specification can be significant impact to the cost. Furthermore, depending on the further operating conditions, power consumption can vary considering. As an environmental specialist, I am an environment specialist, I have a strong responsibility to address to the global challenge to the reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. I can confidently say that the HVAC system I design always consider environment impact assessment, such as a life cycle assessment, LCA. In the final the final decision-making stage, we refer the catalog again, considering the performance data provided the manufacturer and the installation condition. We use calculation and simulation to verify sustainability, cost effectiveness, and environmental impact. This is the process of selecting the optimal equipment, and I believe this is truly the best way to make selection. Oh, sorry. Some engineer may find their work refined. Sorry, ちょっと待って。Some engineer may find this work rewarding. However, in reality, it often leads long working hours, because human capability have limitation. This process utilized become a bottleneck. As a result, we may not be able to provide the optimal solution. Again, the goal is not simply choosing the equipment. The real challenge is to select the best option from among the multiple choices, each with the different condition. We are purpose using the generic data in this phase.
Okay, so Mr. Yachi talked about the reality of environmental design process as engineers. So in my part, I'd like to summarize and connect how his story is connecting the generic object library and the bSDD. So, so far, well, Yuki told about the Singapore summit. If I summarize again, we tried to convert the existing BLCJS, BIM Library Consortium Japan's published spreadsheet format of object library template into bSDD. That was the summarize in the last summit. So on top of that, this time we took on the challenges to populate generic object library on bSDD. That is it's a focus point of this presentation. The generic library provides generic information of a product and provides, and it is independent from specific manufacturers, very neutral, standardized informations. And this generic information covers the basic information such as type, product type, performance, capacity, and object size as dimensions. For example, this kind of information is very useful for to calculate the technical calculations for air conditioning design. So this is the basic things. Sorry, did you miss? Okay, skip. In this slide, I'm going to look at how generic object library plays a role in design processes. If we were doing environment design or HVAC design, you will probably first identify the basic spatial information, such as space type, area, volume, and occupancy numbers, and so on. These are typically non-graphical information and in the beginning. Yeah, this stage. And as the design process moves forward, in this slide, pre-construction, yeah, this is a part of a design, I think. But probably coordination with other design disciplines becomes very important and essential. For example, the architectural team provides key room informations, and in HVAC design, key factors such as room height and pipe space cross sections are critical for selecting the right product. In this process, the generic object library is particularly useful, and they allow us to coordinate spatial reservations with other discipline models and to get the basic information for quick product selection. And this is my last slide, and the message is very simple. If we were to put all the attribute information from generic object library into a proprietary BIM object format, it would be very difficult and costly to manage those informations. And also it would be very difficult to utilize the standardized attribute in downstream applications. Based on our past experiences, a best practice could be to manage attribute informations on generic object libraries with bSDD and to keep a single source of truth environment. Although there is no established method in this field in my mind yet, we try to carry out a proof of concept, a part of our bSDD use case development project. In the next, Yuki will introduce the POC part of our project. Thank you.
Okay, so now it's time to a very short proof of concept. So we spent a lot of time explaining the use case concepts and centralized management of information property sets using bSDD. So I will briefly show the proof of concept. So for the proof of concept, so we adapted OpenAEC, so an all-in-one tool for openBIM. So it enables for low-cost implementation of openBIM, so making it a highly affordable solution, even for projects with limited budgets. So additionally, so it offers high compatibility with for example, Autodesk products. So, and not all project participants need to own BIM authoring tools, for example, Autodesk solutions. So, collaboration between OpenAEC and, for example, Autodesk products, achieves cost optimization. So OpenAEC provides an integrated solution connecting BIM authoring tools with standardized data libraries and data validation tool. So you can create both bSDD and IDS. So and you can also import IDS into IFC to perform compliance checks. So recently, we have adapted support the automatic conversion to IFC by uploading Revit files. This frees people from the task of converting to IFC. So during IFC data reviews, our product contribute to improving BIM data traceability by recording who reviewed which data. Okay, so using the software adapted in the proof of concept, so we leverage the generic library and clear results. So time required for equipment selection has been reduced, and the effort involved in reselecting equipment has also been significantly reduced. So, however, since equipment selection, many use cases, a wide variety. So our POC is highly limited, and metrics cannot be disclosed at this time. So we plan to continue verifying various use cases, and creating evaluation metrics. Okay, so it's done. Final presenter.
Might go back one slide there just because I think there's, oh no, okay, it's back. So yeah, if you didn't see it before, all jumbled up, design time and number of revisions as some of the benefits of this. All right. So I guess today you guys saw, some information about the real problems with equipment selection, especially in Japan, the reason for developing up the generic library, and then a proof of concept kind of workflow for that process, which sort of involves the bildingSMART data dictionary. I think going forward as next steps, there's really sort of three key areas that we feel that we need to progress in. The first one is registration with the use case management system. So obviously, as members of bildingSMART Japan, and as a company that is, very much a proponent of openBIM, one of the things that we sort of hope to develop is, develop this project to the point of registering on the use case management service, and in that way, sort of contributing back towards the repository of shared global assets and workflows. The second thing there is, around sort of environment and sustainability. So this is also a really, really important factor when it comes to equipment selection. Nationally within Japan, there's kind of a push to standardize, life cycle analysis requirements. And so, we hope to kind of promote the compliance of, the products, and then also, the generic library with the data requirements of these sort of internal Japan standards, but then also international environmental standards. I think that's also very important. It's important because, right now I think a lot of the equipment selection is focused on really sizing and design and performance, whereas, we really feel that it has the opportunity to be pushed through this kind of project and through this kind of library and object selection into something that allows you to trace and then ultimately reduce sort of embodied and operational carbon across scopes, 1, 2, and 3, essentially up and down the supply chain. And then finally, the manufacturer alliance. So I think manufacturer cooperation for us is very, very important, both for developing the generic library, and there's a truck going somewhere or something, both for the generation of the generic library, because, there's no sense in making a generic library. There's an infinite design space, and so you can't be allowing people to select equipment that is, physically impossible to make or is not available. And so we need that cooperation to help develop up those generic objects. And then, obviously, when it comes to selecting the actual pieces of equipment, which is done a little bit further down the line, well, then we need to be able to map those generic objects that we've now created onto real products. So in order to do that, due in 2026, again, we're not sure, it's sort of a little bit up in the air at the moment, but there's a manufacturer consortium within Japan coming together. So we hope to sort of really push this kind of project there and sort of move towards a united industry that is really able to sort of gain productivity, and then, for the manufacturers, gain, sales and a good way to sort of promote their products, both within Japan and externally, through this kind of project. So, okay. There is realization of the manufacturer alliance. So, yeah. So to recap, I think, really the core points of this project is to make the process of selection easier and better. So, as Yachi-san sort of mentioned, the process of selecting equipment, one is a little bit siloed within Japan. You're not allowed to select exact equipment during the design stage. That needs to come later. And so we've broken up that process into selecting generic objects for sizing purposes, and then someone can match real products onto those generic objects. But by having this library and having the restrictions and the kind of digital passports attached to those objects, people are able to do that design and be able to do that equipment selection much easier, much faster, and at a much higher quality. The second thing is accelerating the digital shift. So, within Japan, we always say DX, which is digital transformation. To what extent that has been accelerating or decelerating or sort of staying flat is a point of discussion, I think. But really with this, we want to be able to help people in the construction industry, manufacturers, to adopt these kind of digital workflows that are, as you've seen throughout the conference, are becoming more and more recognized and sort of standardized throughout Europe, throughout the world. And so I think as Japan, we need to align with that and to be able to keep up and accelerate. Enhancing manufacturers' international competitiveness. I think, with leveraging this, it's really, really important that, you know, we don't stay fully centered within Japan only. Obviously, there are Japanese requirements that need to be met by manufacturers, but when it comes to international standards, those become just as important. And so having, you know, a documentation or having a dictionary of products that is, you know, compliant with international standards allows, you know, the Japanese manufacturing industry to sort of remain competitive on that international stage, which is, you know, for us very, very important, right? I think manufacturing within Japan is a major, major segment of the economy and of workforce. So it's a sort of very key point. And then the last, but obviously not least, is realizing a sustainable society. So, you know, promoting that eco-friendly equipment selection, integrating the amount of data and the types of data available with life cycle analysis that is, you know, becoming more and more standard within the industry. And sort of pushing forward that green transformation, which we also call GX. We love to, anything with transformation, we add an X in Japan. It's very good. But, you know, sort of realizing those environmentally conscious choices that designers, you know, want to be able to make more easily, I think is another key kind of point of this project. And so overall, you know, we feel that this project creates new value, and we really aim for it to make the market more productive, to allow people to make better design choices, to contribute towards a more sustainable lived environment, and we really hope to realize it with openBIM technology. And so thank you for listening. It was a pleasure to present, and are there any questions? Oh, good.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I was wondering when you said the LCA that there is a lot of presentation about the digital product passport and combining the product data. So maybe some of the LCA data might come through the digital product passport. Just as an observation.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, the digital product passport presentations were very, very much interesting for us, I think. I mean, one, as a reference, you know, I think they're doing it, whoops, slightly different way to how we are, you know, sort of currently doing it through the bSDD. I think they're also doing it through, actually we were talking to Christian a little bit earlier, through like AAS and allowing the manufacturers to sort of manage their data. I think we need a solution for that, and whether or not it's going to be exactly the same or the same sort of technology as the DPP or not, I think is a question. But then, you know, again, by complying with, I mean, you know, generally for the Japanese object libraries is sort of within Japan, but being able to sort of compare and take information or sort of share information with other product libraries and, you know, do that kind of linkage is a very interesting concept, I think.
So on top of I think this is one of Japan chapter's challenges because there are a lot of Japanese manufacturers are coming to a European market, so they should know this kind of a DPP or CPL or something. But we don't. Japan chapter has no so tight connection to manufacturers, so we need to much more conversations and get involved in such kind of new companies in our chapter. Next.
First of all, thank you very much. From your point of view, what are the challenge to get the manufacturer together to collaborate with this wonderful idea? And a second question, what is your plan for the future? This library will be like a standard for every BIM project in this use case, or is just a reference and everybody can create a new one? Thank you.
Okay, I will try to your answer. I speak about the background a little bit. The BLCJ, Building Library Consortium Japan project, is now closing this year. So they have already published the standard template as PDF spreadsheet. It's a human readable. So the priority is the converting such kind of existing outcomes to bSDD. So that's making it possible and easy for machine-readable environment. So that is our current challenges now. And the future more, so he talked about much more middle and the long term is the goals. So that's answer. Did I answer to you? Thank you.
Last question, please.
Was a great presentation, I think. We see many digital product passport standardization initiatives like TC442, data templates. We have the PTC24 now. And of course, it's European, and maybe in time it will go through ISO and it becomes more global, right? But for now, you have shown that actually within the BSI, we can do it ourselves with our own standards, bSDD, IDS, and it can work that way. So I would really, well, like future discussions also in the DPP groups that could this be a more, the approach actually for BSI to be promoted. And then always keep an open eye on SEN developments, how it goes. But for now, it would be, I think, a great choice, and you've shown that it worked. It can work, right? So compliments.
Thank you very much. Maybe just to add on a little bit to what Adachi-san was saying earlier, I think, to get the manufacturers to cooperate, I think the hardest thing is going to be standardizing the information that they have. And then also, again, like the object library, it's a balance between adoption and sort of pressure for manufacturers to get on that library. And so making sure that we are cooperating, but then also pushing adoption so that they feel that they should be on that library, I think is another key sort of challenge. And then, very much so. So I think we want to continue to work with this on openBIM technology. The challenge is going to be, okay, well, now who does the management of the product library? And how do we allow that sort of live updating of the product library through the bSDD? Is that linking from the bSDD to somewhere and then using the bSDD as the kind of tie back into the BIM model? That's kind of the next, I guess, step that we're really looking at. Cool. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now I would like to welcome to the stage Ahmet Çıtıpıtıoğlu and Buket Sağıroğlu from Turkey.
Excellent. Good afternoon. It's very exciting for us to be here today. This is our first presentation as a Turkiye chapter, and we'll be sharing the legislation changes in Turkey that opens the way for the use of openBIM in permitting. And we'll start with two stories, one starting with the bildingSMART Turkiye chapter story, and on the ministry side, how we got to where we are today, starting with the regulation change, and what we're doing, what will be happening in the next 3 years. My name is Ahmet Çıtıpıtıoğlu. I'm the bildingSMART Turkiye Vice Chair and also the Engineering and Design Director for TAV Construction. And my co-speaker.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Buket Sağıroğlu. I am an architect and I serve as Director of Vocational Regulation Department at the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change of the Republic of Turkey. It is a great honor to be here at bildingSMART International Summit.
Excellent. And if there's anyone that's a BIM champion, at least on the ministry side for us, that would be Buket. She's been supporting everything that we'll be talking about today. Just to start with the change in March in Turkey, there was a significant amendment to the zoning regulations, which basically opens the way, and I'm not going to read through it all, but basically defines the characterization of the use of BIM in the permit process, and perhaps just alone allowing for the replacement of paper submissions with the digital submissions. And depending on the projects, you're talking about 4 to 8 copies of printed documents, which in the sense of paper in itself, as I said, is significant. So all this will be set in law in 2027. So we have a short time frame to catch up to set the industry in Turkey to e-permitting. Starting with bildingSMART Turkiye, just very briefly, I'll talk about how we came here. We started in 2016, joining the airport room. My company builds airports. We were at Schiphol Airport that had the first meeting sponsored by Schiphol, and we saw and heard about bildingSMART. We organized under İMSAT, which is the Turkish Construction Manufacturers Association, and we applied for membership, and we became a chapter in 2019. We have a very good, healthy organization and membership. And we have several companies from different fields, software vendors, main contractors, design companies, universities, and a lot of organizations and chambers in the industry. So we're fairly well represented within Turkey. And we're very active, at least within our own industry or in our own market in Turkey. We have our annual summits, our biannual meetings, working group meetings, with the Turkish Standards Institute. We have a mirror committee that helps adopt all the ISO standards to the Turkish standards. We have our YouTube BIMinars, and we're quite proud with the publication of that book, the guidebook, third from the left, that basically is for the market, from owners to contractors to the manufacturers, explaining what they need to be doing and provide templates for the industry. They're all in Turkish, unfortunately, but they're pretty comprehensive for at least our market. We have a lot of collaborations. As I mentioned, the Turkish Standards Institute, we helped adopt all the relevant BIM standards, translated them, create a unity in language for the industry. We worked also with the Istanbul rail system for their BIM standards. Our members supported creations of those standards, and also the transport ministry BIM standards and tendering standards. All our members were involved in these, and of course, today with ministry, with e-permitting now. And of course, the public sector being the driving force in all this, I'll hand her story of how we came to today through the ministry and all their activities.
Thank you, Ahmet. In Turkey, the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change is the driving force for BIM adoption. The ministry protects the environment, develops climate policies, and ensures safe construction through regulation and inspections. It also supports municipalities with planning standards and urban transformation projects. This strong public sector leadership is essential for the digital transition in the construction industry. The Directorate General of Vocational Service that I work in regulates license and professional standards for engineers, architects, and technical staff. This also includes regulation zoning projects. The Directorate General ensures technical quality and professional competence in the sector. Since 2019, the Ministry has taken significant steps towards BIM adoption. It joined the Turkish Standard Institute BIM Mirror Committee. Then we established a BIM working group and initiated collaboration with buildingSMART Turkiye. In 2021, BIM training programs were provided to more than 100 managers and technical staff. The Ministry also recommended expanding BIM courses in universities to prepare future professionals. The Ministry then prepared a roadmap for BIM integration and presented it to its directorates. The following year, a pilot project was launched, the Fikirtepe Secondary School, a 7,000 square meter building with 24 classrooms. This project, developed with Emlak Konut, served as a real example to test BIM-based design and approval process. In the 12th development plan of Turkey, digitalization in construction is highlighted. The plan calls for mandatory use of BIM and life cycle analysis in public procurement and the establishment of legal frameworks for digital project delivery and integration of IoT technologies into construction projects. These policies demonstrate a strong national commitment to digital transformation. The Minister's Strategic Plan 2024 and 2028 also highlights digitalization. Its main objectives are to promote green buildings, strengthen professional competence, and ensure safe construction through effective oversight. The plan assigns the Directorate General of Vocational Service to lead the digitalization of the construction ecosystem. According to strategic plan, several strategies will be implemented. These include establishing legal and technical framework for BIM integration, creating a BIM-based project delivery system, and enabling centralized management of 3D digital buildings models. The goal is to make building permit process full digital, standardized, and compliant with BIM standards. Last year, Turkiye organized a digital construction and BIM collaboration program with UK Department for Business and Trade. Focus group meetings were held with public, private, and academic stakeholders involving more than 90 participants. This year, a national BIM roundtable workshop was conducted with 62 participants who worked on practical integration strategies. The workshop resulted in a clear vision for the future. Turkey aims to achieve full digital transformation in the construction ecosystem, creating a built environment that is safe, efficient, and sustainable. This vision guides all ongoing and future activities in BIM implementation and digital project delivery.
So the foundation of where we are today is a long story, and just aligned with the amendment, there was an agreement with the Ministry and Istanbul Technical University to provide a foundation outline of all the changes and infrastructure needs for an e-project infrastructure that would support e-permitting in Turkey. So there's a group of professors, academics from the Istanbul Technical University, along with the Middle East Technical University and buildingSMART Turkiye's members, working together to define the changes that are needed in regulations, the infrastructure needs in terms of the architecture of a system that will support all these submittals. The service agreement was structured in 3 phases. The first phase is complete, which was basically an overview of what other country has been doing in the adoption of e-permit processes and the challenges and the opportunities. The ongoing phase 2 is basically defining first a 2D digital delivery. Many of the municipalities are still submitting papers. There are some few municipalities that have their own infrastructure. And of course, level 3 would be a full BIM delivery. And then the phase 3 would be defining the IT web-based openBIM infrastructure ready for procuring such an infrastructure in the next year. And all of these to be also integrated with the ministry's current GIS systems, which we'll briefly discuss as well. Along with this, we launched a webpage as a resource for what's going on, the National E-Project Management System webpage that's going to become more and more populated with outcomes and supporting material for the industry, for the market in Turkey. Obviously, there's a lot of digital benefits that are sought to make the workflows much easier, faster permits, improve the valuations. For me, this picture on the top left Archiving data is a big challenge with a lot of paper. This is a real picture from a governmental archive where you have a lot of paper bundled in sacks and sacks of in rooms which aren't really that accessible or useful for anyone. And in the broader picture, integrating all of this with the ministry's decarbonization efforts and a lot of seismic risk assessments studies that they have built around GIS to feed it with the BIM information that we have coming from the permit process. The scale of impact, we have more than 70,000 design offices in Turkey. We have more than 1,300 municipalities that will be impacted by this change. In the last 2 years, we have more than 150 million square meters of permits granted. That's about 130 permits a year, and the average is about 1,000 square meters of built area for permits. There's several, obviously, parties involved, and I think what we're doing in Turkey is a bit unique in the sense that many other countries started very big. In Dubai, I think it was more than 20 to 50,000 square meter projects were required to have BIM. We're starting small in a big way, where we're focusing on the small projects across the country. So the average, we're still working on it, but focusing on projects, housing projects and office projects, 2,000 to 5,000 range, and then gradually expanding the size and impact. This way, the problem space is much easier. We're talking about very simple projects, obviously on a much larger scale, rather than try to tackle much more complicated projects like airports and hospitals. So this is a case study of an actual permitted project. It's 3 floors, about 2,000 square meters. So this is the average target project that we're looking at to achieve across Turkey. So the whole application file was digital, at least in this municipality, in the sense PDFs, scans, and DWGs. There's about 700 megabytes of data, 140 PDFs, so about the majority of them was obviously drawings, and then a few videos. Typically, they document the boring and geotechnical studies on site. And with a total of 168 signatures, some of them digital, some of them physical signatures. You can see the unfortunate consequence of paper-based documents. The bottom long drawing is the architectural set. So they typically have a single title block with all the signatures on the left and the whole gamut of drawings, maybe 10, 20. I know you're laughing, it is funny, but that's basically an adaptation of practicality where you have to stamp and sign things. On our airport projects, we have tens and thousands of projects that need to be stamped 8 times over. So just the process of stamping projects is a huge burden that hopefully will be taken care of through this digital approach. And of course, the ministry wants to turn into decent, regular sheets, as you would expect to have. And they already have that infrastructure, the standards defined. So the typical permitting, you have e-signatures on this. This is architectural title block. So technically, on just the technical documents, you have about 11 drawing sets and 50 signatures just on the drawings themselves. So the infrastructure that we're looking at, you can see the red, well, the process, the workflow between the owners, municipalities, designers. You have the zoning permit application, then you have the building application to the right. And the idea is adding an infrastructure on top of the e-project system where the submittals will be through this in a digital manner, shared and archived integrated with the municipality infrastructure. This is work in progress, but obviously everything is aimed to be on an openBIM stance. In the metrics, looking at the size of all this data, we said we have, depending whether it's going to be a pure BIM project versus put everything in that, about a gigabyte of data per application. We're looking at 60 to 20 users per permit with 20 to 200 signatures in each permit cycle. So if we have 130,000 permits a year, that's about 13 to 130 terabytes a year. About half to 1 million users on the system submitting their drawings and evaluating them, and about 2 to 26 million e-signatures a year. So this is the kind of the size of that infrastructure that we're looking at to take care of all this process in Turkey. So the planned work ahead, as I mentioned, we have the E2 team completing the report that will lay out the regulation requirements and the IT requirements for the ministry. That's planned to be published this year. at the end of this year. Also, as bSDD Turkiye, we're supporting the creation of examples, training materials, developing the modeling guidelines, on obviously the IDMs, IDS, and bSDDs associated with that. Again, being an apartment project, it's actually very easy, comparably easier to handle. We're talking about simple dwellings. And then the RFP for the infrastructure requirements themselves. And then next year, the procurement of start developing that infrastructure, publishing the online material onto that website that we launched, and start public pilot work with the municipalities. We already have about 4 or 5 municipalities engaged. We expect to broaden that. And then in 2027, on a provincial level, start pilot work, and then eventually expand that throughout the country. That's about our presentation, and thank you for your time. If there are any questions, I don't know how we are on time, but...
Thank you. Tony Gillenberg from Salibri. So I saw that you guys were talking about BIM models and PDFs a lot, but are you looking to get into IFC-based code compliance checking?
Yeah, well, when I say BIM, you can think as IFC. It's strictly open source. You expect all the submittals from whatever vendor those models should be produced to be submitted to the system as IFC, strictly.
All right.
There is an argument about, the CAD drawings. It's still in discussion. PDF are useful, but for, also assessing, because the ministry also wants to check not just the content, because the building inspectors already do the technical reviews for the submittals, but for the formats and for the compliance with, the CAD drawings and obviously the BIM models. So we're also thinking of DXF or other formats, alternates, but strictly non, vendor locked based. So almost everything would be archivable text, ASCII, IFC, and PDF.
Can you hear me? Okay, now. Is the scope just buildings, or does it include all the infrastructure permitting? Because I was not sure, because you have the separate Ministry of Transport. So if you have the same one permitting system for all projects, or is it somehow different?
The authority for different systems, the permitting is different for those type of projects. The ministry is now focusing on housing and office, and the idea is to expand that out. But as I said, I think it's ideal just to keep the problem space small. It's easier to explain and understand the modeling of a simple building rather than a whole rail line. But the Ministry of Transport itself, the highways and the rail, is also quite active in their own. As you saw, they have their own BIM requirements published 2 years ago. And the industry, that was actually put together by our members, which are the main contractors and design teams within Turkiye, active on those projects. So in their own space, they also have their own BIM requirements. And the idea is once we expand out around, for the housing, this will become an example just to expand to other domains. All right, thank you so much.
And now let's welcome to the stage Leoš Svoboda.
Good morning, everyone. It's like this table is on this side, but everyone's sitting there. So I will try. No, I'm not going to move you. I'll try to cover the whole audience. Good morning. Thanks to bSDD for inviting me and accepting my presentation, and thanks to bSDD for everything they do for BIM and openBIM. And to prevent the questions in delay, if I say BIM, I mean openBIM, okay? because I'm talking about the BIM Act. And the other thing, we take completely opposite approach as Turkey, yeah? because we're starting from the above the limit constructions, and it doesn't say what's a better approach, right? We need to try. So my name is Leoš Svoboda. I represent the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and in the same time I'm a chapter leader of the bildingSMART in our country, which was first. I started as chapter leader in 2021 when we established the Czech chapter, and just a couple of years, in 24 I joined the Ministry of Industry and Trade, which is responsible for implementing BIM in our country, and I will give you some details on that. My background is I'm civil engineer, originally by education, and then I spent over 20 years in an international corporation focused on software production, mostly in GIS and AEC. So I come from, let's say, information management, but in a broader sense. And I'll be talking about this new Czech BIM Act, in short, which has a very different name, and there is no BIM mentioned in the act at all, but it's about information management. Do you see? Okay. Yeah, you see enough. Yeah, it's not full screen, but it's okay. I will start from how we started in our country, because it's almost 10 years ago. This is how we got